Hi, and welcome to Chic and Unstoppable, the interview series where you become the most powerful version of you from the inside out. And talking about the inside out, today we're going to talk about core intelligence and body wisdom. And I am with Nancy Parker. Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
So glad that you're here. How are you?
I'm great. I'm really excited about the interview today.
Great, great. Well, right before we dive in, I will introduce you properly. So, Nancy is a movement therapist, energy worker, and holistic health advocate. She is certified as a Reiki master, holistic wellness coach, movement therapist, Tantra counselor, dancing freedom facilitator, and functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. I had to practice that title. For over 20 years, Nancy has guided thousands to open their hearts, move through blocks, and restore radiant health by accessing and integrating their core intelligence into all aspects of life. Nancy, how did you become? I mean, you don't have one title, but how did you actually become a specialist of core intelligence?
Yeah. It was many years before I found the term to kind of encompass all of what I offer and what I share, and core intelligence just really fits it all. Um, I, I grew up very shy and realized it was a part of a sensitivity, like this deep sensitivity. But then, of course, we get out in the world, and the world is very kind of masculine, driven, focused, doing, you know, and it kind of, so I kind of like shut off that aspect of me, and I was the honor roll student in college and graduated college early and with honors, and the whole deal, very in that wanting to please and be the good girl, and kind of fit the roles of society. And through that, I've always been into movement and always kind of been the playful type. So, through my years of being an athlete and doing some movement, I started helping people balance their bodies, literally from the inside out, with their structure, and in a very, very linear, very like calculated, measuring joint angles and that sort of way, which has been super helpful for a lot of people. And as I was working with those bodies, I found sometimes, even though we were doing all the right things according to the textbooks, they weren't getting the results. There were blocks. There were other things in the way. And as life would have it, it always gives me a mirror from my own inner process and what's going on in my world. So I got the opportunity to both work through what was blocking me from feeling better in my body, and also be able to reflect that and share that with my clients when I was teaching Pilates or personal training or doing that work, 15, 20 years ago. And then started integrating in holistic health and nutrition and repairing the gut and balancing the adrenals and hormones. And again, all still very left brain, but noticing when I was working with people, when there were other things in the way, when, we talk about something and they kind of jump around it, or just, it would be this blank spot. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I started to get really curious about the way emotions impact our body, and went through the whole process. Again, whenever I start to look outward and want to help others, I'm always given the opportunity to look inward and do my own work. So I got to look at the places or have the places revealed in me where I wasn't looking at certain emotions, didn't want to feel fear or sadness, didn't want to feel anger, and how that was manifesting and where it was holding in my body and my liver and my shoulders. So it's just been this ongoing process. And my intuition many years ago led me from Florida, where I was comfortable and all my family and friends were, and I just got this very strong, clear guidance. I was going to move to California, and I was going to attend this holistic institute that I wanted to do training with. And within a month, I had driven across the country, left everything I knew, and wound up within a week getting a job at the institute that I wanted to train with. Now, when I told everyone I was leaving, they of course thought I was crazy, but there was some really deep inner knowing. There was some deep beyond rational knowing from my core intelligence that was telling me go, even though it was scary, even though it was like totally unknown. The same thing when I left my job at the spa. I was working at a spa in Mexico for about 5 years. Really nice spa, very cush. And I got the hint. It was like, your time here is done. And it was at a time when the economy was in recession. And I actually didn't tell people for a little while because I knew that they would start to project their fear onto me.
Yeah.
But I knew very clearly that it was time to leave, and I didn't know what I was doing or where I was going or where I would live, because I lived at the spa. But I left, and that led me down this path the last 10 years to really integrating back in the feminine, to really integrating back in. And when I say masculine, feminine, I'm not talking about man, woman. I'm talking about that like intuitive, flowing beingness versus the human doing, that's just more of the masculine energy, right? The feminine is more of this. So it led me down the path to tapping into my intuition, doing the Reiki training, hosting healing circles for women and men, and integrating more like conscious freeform movement to let the energy move through the body, to let the emotion, the energy become in motion and move through. And so that's how I got here today. And that's what I've been doing the last 7 years, is really integrating all of those pieces, from the structure to the physiology to, so from the body to the mind to the spirit.
Wow, I have so many questions. I'm listening to you and I'm like, oh my God, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. Was that?
I don't think I've ever told that story before.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And let's talk about core intelligence. What do we need to expect from getting in touch with it?
Really, it becomes your unfailing guide. It's like your inner compass, always pointing you to your true north. And so when we can clear out all the mind chatter, and we can clear out all of the society's shoulds and conditioning, when we can really tune in to our core intelligence, it becomes our unfailing guide, and it will lead us down our path as long as we keep checking in, asking questions, and course correcting. And it takes some work. Not a lot of people want to go through the uncomfortable process of doing some of the work. But for those intrepid explorers who are willing, it really becomes your unfailing guide.
I love that you say unfailing, but you say also to course correct.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes I feel like when we follow our heart or our intuition and there's something that doesn't work, we're disappointed, because we think that it must be a straight line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that we trick ourselves like that. And
yeah.
Like that, because we're making choices moment by moment. Now, I know I want to go this way, or I've gotten this intuition that leads me this way. Once I get there, I need to check in. Is this what I really wanted? Or have I maybe grown since then and realized actually that's what I wanted and I got it. But now that I'm here, I realize I want that over there. I want more. I can see more. I've expanded my, aperture lens to include more. And therefore, we always need to come back and check back in and course correct. It's very rare. I mean, I guess with some of our technology these days that you can plug in a destination and never have to look at anything again and just go. Even if it's on autopilot, the autopilot is doing the course correcting, right? So our core intelligence, when we check back into it, it becomes our autopilot.
Wow, I love that. And you're talking about the work to get there, because of course it's a practice, it's a journey. But what are the first steps to actually get in touch with our core intelligence?
Yeah, well, obviously it's going to be individual depending on where someone is starting their journey. But I always look at it starting from the body. You have to have a strong, solid foundation, right? So good nutrition, good sleep, good clean water, right? Moving your body in some way on a regular basis, getting outside of the Wi-Fi boxes, the EMF, filled with all the electricity, and getting back outside and getting the sun and the earth, so clearing the physical vessel first on a very literal level.
Mm-hmm.
And once that solid foundation is in place, once we can tell, this food actually fuels me, and this food actually makes me feel sluggish or anxious or whatever it is. So we start to use our core intelligence that way, first in deciding when we need to rest and when we need to push. And learning, I pushed because I thought I needed to push, but I learned actually I needed to rest. Or when we were kind of just being sluggish and we were resting, but we actually needed to push, right? So kind of using your body and your body's wisdom as the first guide is where I start with almost everybody. And then what that exact pinpoint place looks like depends on where they are in their mouth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. That's great. And so is that what you would call the body wisdom?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one expression of the body. Is really tuning in and learning that. Another way I use my body wisdom is, and this one has it's been spoken about more and more, is really learning how to feel a yes and a no. And so how do we know if, that macadamia nuts or, that pasta is better for us, whatever. Like learning to tune in and feel, what does a yes feel like in my body? And for most of us, if we're like a real yes, there's this like expansion. And if we're a hell yes, it might be like a really, really big expansion. But usually it's more subtle, right? Usually it's just like, there's just this little inner perk that happens. And if it's a no, there's usually a tightening or a heaviness or a contraction. So a yes usually feels light, and a no usually feels heavy. Yes feels expanded, no feels contracted. Right? And there's a lot of somatic work in the research that, shows this closed off posture. Thomas Hanna calls it the red light posture, is like, this, we're like protected. And the green light posture is open. And it's that same guide. I mean, you just look across all the different disciplines and it's there, right? That yes and that no. And so that's another way that you can actually start to apply it. And I suggest people start doing it with simple things, like things that aren't really heavily emotionally weighted, right? Like, what food to eat for dinner, this or this? What supplement to take, this, or should I take 3? Oh no, it says take 3, but my body two. My body says take 2. Great, I'm gonna listen to that, right? And for me, that was about a 6-month process of literally committing to checking at least once a day, but more than that, because I get a little like, I like to really go for it. I like to dive deep of, what to take, how much, and not that I always listen. Sometimes I want that cookie and I'm going to eat it, even though I know it's going to make me sleepy. But even that is information. Oh, I eat the cookie, it makes me sleepy. Okay, so next time I know if I eat the cookie, it's going to make me sleepy. I can choose that consciously.
Exactly. I love that. And I love how you talk about it took you 6 months, because it I don't know. I feel like sometimes when we talk about that kind of practice, a lot of people will try, and if they don't feel anything, they will get discouraged and they will say, nah, and it's not for me, So I like that, that you put that image. For me, I like to put alarms on my phone, like you say, to check at least one time a day. I like to put alarms on my phone and actually like just check your body sensation and like kind of just like thinking a little bit like, okay, like how do I feel? Where do I feel resistance? Exactly. Do I feel like I'm expanding or no? So yeah. We talked before the interview about playfulness.
Yeah.
And how to include playfulness in our life. So I'd like to ask, why is playfulness so important?
Well, I think we as adults and maybe as a culture, at least in America, I can speak for, I can't speak for others I haven't immersed so much in, we have a curiosity disease. It's a made-up word.
Yeah, I was about to ask, what does that mean?
Exactly. We're so serious. Everything has to be done right.
Yeah.
Right. And there's this like, as if the world depends on if I picked up the right brand of rice from the grocery store or whatever, right? Or I'm having company and there's a speck of dust on the floor. Oh my God, right? And we're in the stress about things that, well, yeah, it's nice to have a clean house, but like really, in the long run, are your friends really going to condemn you if, you know, there's a little dust ball in the corner? No, probably one of them will just like pick it up and throw it away. No big deal. So I think as adults in general, we just get so caught up in the have-tos of life. And let's face it, we have them, right? We have jobs, we have children, we have careers. Those things are real. And so bringing back playfulness, inviting in playfulness helps bring a balance back into our lives. And we can look to children to inspire us, but really it's something we can just squeeze into those little moments throughout the day. And it may be in the way we think about a situation. It may be in just, you know, taking the risk to be a little silly and see how it makes someone respond. Like you notice the checker at your grocery is in a bad mood, and you just take a risk to just be silly, right? To just say something, you know, silly, off the wall, something that just makes, right? A pattern interrupt to just shake things up and to bring a smile, right? So it does take a little bit of courage, because as adults, we are, you know, we have to be well put together and proper and oh, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Surrendering that need to look a certain way because of how someone you don't even know might think of you. Wow. But we do it all the time. So by inviting more playfulness, we loosen up some of that seriosity, the seriousness we carry. We permission others to loosen up some of that inner critic, that self-judgment, because all judgment is just self-judgment, right? It's our own inner critic, you know, keeping us, and we get it reflected from the outside world back at us. But as we allow ourselves to do those things, we permission other people to soften and allow their expression as well. Right? And that's, I think we're so, we can get so rigid in our roles, in our identities, and who we're supposed to be. And life becomes heavy. And, you know, there's a lot of things in life that are heavy that we can't escape: death of loved ones, right? Financial struggle, like those sorts of things that we don't need to impose it on ourselves when it's just not necessary. That's just a conditioned pattern that we've been accepting, that we don't have to accept. We just throw it to the wind.
I love that.
And you dance with the wind, if that's your
thing.
Or draw, or sing, or write, or, you know, whatever ways you express yourself, just to tap back into that playful, childlike spirit, and not need to get it right. Just enjoy doing whatever you're doing.
I love this. I love this, because everything you're saying is so true. I can relate to so much of it, you know, and I feel like a lot of it is a facade, and it was actually separating ourselves from others, you know, and like, no, I'm in my life, I'm, you know, everything is under control. I don't make jokes that when I don't have to, and everything, and it creates this. And as you say, when bringing playfulness is also kind of offering it to others, because when we're around somebody who's like that, I mean, I speak for myself, but when I'm around somebody who's more playful, I feel like, whew, okay, you know, like I can be my silly self, and I can do jokes that maybe are not funny, but, you know, let them judge. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just more relaxed.
But those jokes are funny to you, and so you relax and you have more fun, right? And
True.
I think that's so true. And probably many of your viewers have had an experience where someone has been that person, and they felt like they felt their energy be able to relax, and suddenly they didn't have to hold themselves so proper and like, oh, I can let my personality out.
Yes.
Me. Oh, it's so much energy holding those facades, as you say, that
Yeah.
when we surrender them and we allow that playfulness to come in, we access so much more energy, so much more creativity, inspiration, passion. Like, we give it space to move through.
Yeah.
And that play.
Yeah. And that's part of making us unstoppable, definitely, because as you said, it takes a lot of energy, so it's kind of, you're freeing that energy and allowing something else to come. I love that. I really love that. Whoop. There you go, playfulness.
Happens that may be embarrassing, you just make a joke out of it or laugh, right? It's like, oh, I tripped and people saw me. I could be horrified, or I can just like, da-da-da, right?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Including yourself. So, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, definitely. I love that.
When you're standing in line, instead of tuning out, find a way to tune in, right? Find a way, like maybe there's a way to, again, bring a little more playfulness or a little more levity to a situation where people might just be like impatient and like your energy could be the one. For me, sometimes I'm stretching at the gas station while I'm pumping in my car, and while that's not it, on some level it's playful. I'm taking care of my body. I'm doing my stretch and I have my arm up and I'm owning it. Other people look and smile, and then maybe they stretch their calves or something, or they just look at me like I'm the crazy lady. But so there's ways just to invite little bits of playfulness. You're in the car in traffic, sing out loud, get a little bump going, dance, or so just finding the ways that it's your authentic expression, that it fits in to those moments that could otherwise be like tight, tense, frustrated, annoying. And in those moments, like, invite something else. What else is possible? Do you have to buy into that? Or can you, start playing games, playing the what if game in your head? Imagination, tapping back into, make-believe, or whatever it is, however your playfulness expresses itself. Mine is through movement and dance, and sometimes through singing. And I always find my playfulness is more easily accessible when other people are in that state. But if that's not the case, when I'm out in nature, like I return. So if you're having a hard time accessing your playfulness, ask your inner child, what would she do? What would she do right now? If I wasn't too busy adulting, right? Would I go climb that tree? Maybe. I would. Right? Or would I like do, roll on the ground, like do little flips on the ground? Would I do a cartwheel? What is it? Would I build a sandcastle? Would I splash around in the water and squeal like a little girl? Sure, do that. Great, do it, right? So just asking and inviting, what would my inner child do? How would she or he, if there are some males watching, want to express themselves?
Great. And if there was only one tip, trick, tool that the audience must take away from this interview in order to show up as the most powerful version of themselves, what would you say?
Keeping our heart and our brain synced up, communicating with each other is a really powerful place to move through the world from. It helps us make better decisions. It helps us engage with others from a more authentic place. And it's really simple to sync them back up, right? And so when we do that, it gives us space to tune into our core values, to what's really important to us, to really let all those other facades fall away and start to live our life guided by the wisdom. Because yes, follow your heart, but we are whole beings, right? And so we're not dismissing the wisdom of the mind. It's just, it's needs to be connected to our heart. And I think if we can have more people out in the world connected from their brains and their hearts, that's unstoppable. Absolutely, when we tune into our body's wisdom, it helps us to listen to our heart.
Yeah.
And there's a meditation. So you could simply just put your hands on your heart. So that's a quick, simple shortcut. Like whenever I'm like, wait, I'm not sure how I always come back here. Put my hands on my heart and breathe. Eyes open or closed, whatever. And just come back and really feel the strength of the heart. The power of this heart. I mean, it beats. We don't have to make it beat. It just does that for us. It's this gift that pumps life force through our body. Beauty of the heart. And so from this place, if we can tap into the energy of gratitude, something you're grateful for, whether it's just for this beating heart in your chest, or for a moment or an experience in your life that you're grateful for, and you just step into that moment as if you were there now, feeling what you were feeling, seeing what you're seeing. The look on your face is, the same as in that moment you were having that experience. That starts to connect your heart with your brain. And one of my free gifts is a brain heart sync meditation that will connect to gratitude. Gratitude is the simplest way to shift your state. Anytime you're in a woman cut me off on the way here to get back for this interview, and then she flicked me off, and you know what I did? I sent her peace, love, and gratitude, because I could get caught up in her trail of energy, or I could go, that's not my ride. Whew. Whatever she has going on, I wish her peace, and I'm grateful that I'm healthy and I'm alive and we didn't get in an accident. So gratitude is a really powerful energy, and it drops us into our heart, and it starts to sync up. And they've done actual studies, EMG, EKG studies, that show that when we do this, when we synchronize our brain and our heart, or when we drop into a state of gratitude, it synchronizes the rhythms of our brain and our heart. So it's actually not just woo-woo, it's actually a physiological thing. And then from that place, we're more grounded and clear and can tune into our core intelligence better, because all the other stuff just falls.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you so much for your wisdom and your energy. I feel all warm now because of you. Thank you so much. Where can we find more of your work?
Yeah. So I have my website, inbodywisdom.com, as in the body. And you can find, lots of information there. And of course, I'm offering free gifts, so you can link it through.
Yeah. And everything will be right below this video. It's going to be a big button. There's a big button right below this video for the free gift. And also you can find Nancy's website. Thank you so much today for your presence and your energy. This is very good stuff, very valuable. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, Genevieve. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you at home for being here. Remember that it's never too late to be who you want to be and to connect with your core intelligence. So if you want more tips and tricks on how to show up as the most powerful version of you, stay tuned for the next interviews. Ciao.